One of my goals in this talk has been to show you, when you see a little box that says Age-Lock Science, that is a huge box. That's an over 30-year box with over, I don't know how much money, how many brilliant scientists, Dr. Joe Chang to bring them all together. I mean, that is an amazing box right there. So through the first part of the algorithm, they find the youth gene cluster, the mitochondria, and then they targeted it through those gene modulation experiments and produced a product that resets youth gene clusters. Physical vigor comes back, mental acuity, and sexual desire. So just a quick thing on the ingredients. Cordyceps mushroom, most prized of all mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms outside in China. It's been used in ancient China. You know, it was very highly prized by the royalty in the ancient times. Nu Skin has exclusive rights to this CS4 strain. It's the best strain of cordyceps. And outside of China, only Nu Skin can use it. So right off the bat, everything else aside, if someone tells you I already take cordyceps, you don't take this cordyceps. But it's also extracted and done using gene modulation to target the youth gene cluster of the mitochondria. Then the pomegranate fruit extract, it's patented, it's proprietary. 99% of pomegranate tested is inactive on the market. Top of that, you've got ginseng, also proprietary, unique, biologically active. And I've told this story before, but it's so graphic. There are companies that have ginseng root that they sell. They literally extract some ingredients from it and sell it to one supplement company, and they sell a root to another company. These companies don't either have the money or the scientists or the biochemistry apparatus to even know what they're getting. But the public thinks it's ginseng. And because the label says ginseng, and the company bought something called ginseng, they think they're taking ginseng. But I've been observing society and asking myself, because I see how well these ingredients are working in a short period of time, if so many people are taking ginseng for real, why don't they feel better? Why don't they have the vitality we're getting from, same with the cordyceps and the pomegranate. On top of all that, the recipe's patented. So even if someone had the 3 ingredients, they don't know how to put them together. And if you ask Joe Chang, he'll say, here, I'll take all the recipe ingredients for a cake, and I'll give you the same ingredients, and we'll both make a cake. Is it going to be the same? The answer is no. Because the recipe's critical. We're also patenting the recipe. Every ingredient's chosen going through that whole set of experiments. So it's the same question, can anyone else do this? No. And it would take decades and the same kind of brilliance and a ton of scientists and money. So that's the bottle of vitality. So I've gone through these things with you, the genetics, epigenetics, the science, the algorithm. The algorithm's the key. Joe Chang says we can go anywhere in the body with that algorithm. Sometime they're going to decide to do the eyes, the youth gene clusters of the eyes, all these different things that people want to have younger. We have the fountain of youth. You have to share it. That's one of my biggest points here. So this man, Ken Dykewald, he spoke at a convention about 5 years ago or something, and he studies this age wave phenomenon, this massive group of baby boomers moving through time and now getting older, okay? Longevity revolution will have greater impact on our lives than either the industrial or the technological revolutions, which both were huge. With absolute certainty, this boomer generation is now moving into age wave. And I'll run through that once more just because it's so dramatic. 1950 to 1960. The change in population growth, the delta in population growth. And you look at the different age groups, okay? So this is under 14-year-olds, and then we go in 10-year intervals after that. So when the baby boomers hit the world, that group shot up 37%. Right away, they topped any other age group just by being born. 1960 to 1970, and you're going to watch them move through time. Certain groups dropped a little in their population, some others went up. Nothing like this one. 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 1990 to 2000. Okay, now here we're at 2010. 2000 to 2010, 46% rise in 55 to 64-year-olds. Now watch what happens. Boom. From 2000 to 2020, so 10 more years, there's going to be 73% rise in 55 to 64-year-olds. And 65 and over is going to shoot up 54%. It's unprecedented because look, there's nothing like that trailing for decades and decades. It's never going to happen again. It never has happened on this planet. This is like the people with the money too, the disposable income. They decide the trends. This is a trend for decades. This is not a fad, anti-aging. They're not going to want to look good for a few years and then go, now I'll start looking old. It's not true. And all these guys want it too. You've got 20-year-olds doing Botox now. This is the wave coming in, and we're in front of it, and anyone you can get, this is the time to get in front of that wave. But we have something precious that people need. And you can see that it's not in anyone else's hands. Joe Chang is a huge heart, and he's a genius. I'm telling you, this age lock is massive. And another thing, about, I've said this before, but don't give samples of age. Joe says vitality needs to be for a month because everyone's having a different experience over that month. Some people aren't feeling it in a few days, but it's still doing something. But then on day 20, boom, what happened, And people don't think that way, but it takes time. For cells that have been declining in energy for decades, literally,